You want to know what nobody tells you when you finally get the keys to that so-called forever home you worked your whole life for? Sometimes the hardest part isn't saving for the down payment or surviving the mortgage meeting with some loan officer who looks like he's been sucking lemons all morning. Nope. Sometimes the real work starts the day you meet your neighbor, the one with the perfect hair and the white blouse so starched you'd swear it could cut glass. For Sarah and Jason Cooper, that realization hit like a cold wind the moment they moved their battered sofa into the old house with the ivy-clad porch at the edge of Benson Street. They'd scraped together every penny overtime, double shifts at the downtown cafe, long nights hunched over spreadsheets just to land a place of their own, a spot with a tired maple tree out front and enough backyard for tomato vines and folding chairs. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. And after years in cramped apartments over traffic and sirens, it felt like stepping into a new chapter, one where peace was something you could finally hear. But then on that first quiet morning, coffee in hand and sun creeping up over the hedges, Sarah spotted her. Karen Benson, silver blonde helmet of hair crisp slacks, arms crossed so tight you'd think she was guarding the secrets of the universe. No wave, no smile, just that long, measuring stare like she was counting cracks in the sidewalk for fun. At first, Sarah tried to shrug it off. New town, new faces. Maybe folks were just a little stiff here. But when Karen showed up 2 days later, her friendly advice disguised as warnings about trash cans and curb appeal, her sentences clipped and calculated, Sarah knew she wasn't imagining things. "We keep things tidy here," Karen said, eyes flicking to the bins. "You'll want to keep those out of sight." Sarah, polite but firm, pointed out they'd placed them exactly where the city said. Karen's reply: that humorless little smile like she knew exactly how this was going to go down. The pattern set in quick. Karen popping up like a groundhog at the end of the driveway, walking her tiny dog phone in hand but never looking at it, just watching. Not friendly, not outright hostile. Just enough to make Sarah wonder if her laugh was too loud, if her garden was messy. Jason tried to joke it off. "She needs a hobby, hun." But it wasn't jokes that filled their mailbox with notes about recycling lids or curtain collars or the sad fate of a neighbor cited last year for a trash infraction. Karen, it turned out, was the neighborhood's self-appointed sheriff, judge, and executioner. Things got weird fast. The bins vanished one Wednesday, just gone, no sign of mischief, no broken wheels, no tipsy raccoon paw prints. They filed a report thinking maybe it was a prank. City replaced them, no big deal. But when the replacements disappeared too, even after Sarah had them locked with a bungee, she knew this was no coincidence. The next morning, as she stood in the kitchen reading the city's email about anonymous complaints logged at dawn, it finally clicked. Karen wasn't just nitpicking. She was running a campaign built on plausible deniability and weaponized bureaucracy. Sarah started documenting everything: photos, dates, the city's guidelines printed and taped inside the pantry. Still, every little move: bring the bins in a bit earlier, snatch packages off the porch, keep the curtains drawn, felt like a surrender. It was like the neighborhood itself was watching. Lawns too perfect, hedges too neat, neighbors waving but never lingering. Everyone desperate for peace as long as nobody defined what that actually meant. By the time the second set of bins vanished, Sarah was angry, not scared. Karen was playing the long game, pushing just hard enough to drive the Coopers crazy, but not enough to get caught. But here's the thing about silent wars: they wear you down 1 inch at a time. Sarah could feel herself fading, shrinking to fit someone else's rules. She started listing every incident, hoping to find a pattern, but all she saw was a timeline of quiet submission. Then the game escalated. The air smelled like rot. One humid morning, old meat dumped in a bag near the bins, the kind of thing that sticks to your hair and soul. Anonymous flyers began sliding under their doormat, phony community warnings about waste violations. No logo, just the implication that the Coopers were being watched. The cafe, their pride and joy, took 3 fake one-star reviews overnight, each more vague than the last. Even Jason's stubborn, practical Jason started to see it wasn't just about the trash. The turning point. A manila envelope on the back stoop, inside a photo of their front yard with the bins circled in red, and a typed warning, "This is not how we do things here." That's when Sarah stopped reacting and started planning. If Karen wanted control, she was going to have to work for it. Sarah built a binder: photos, emails, complaints, notes, organized, meticulous, ready for court if it came to that. She reached out to a municipal liaison, Adrienne, and looped her in on every incident. They started pushing back quietly but firmly, moving the bins exactly according to code, using the city's own words as their shield. Karen's response was a masterclass in passive-aggressive escalation: bins stuffed with foreign garbage, shredded paper, a single black glove laid atop wilted leaves, each move stranger and more pointed than the last. A surprise twist: an urban relations guy showed up, clipboard in hand, supposedly running a resident satisfaction survey, but Sarah spotted her address highlighted in orange. When she checked with the city, there was no such survey. The real plan was coming into focus. Karen wasn't just harassing, she was laying the groundwork for a reputation, building a story where Sarah and Jason were the troublemakers. So Sarah flipped the script. When Karen sent 4 boxes of industrial trash bags and gloves, supposedly from the Benson Street Sanitation Collective, which didn't exist, Sarah used them to throw an official community cleanup, crediting Karen as a donor in the local newsletter. Karen vanished for 2 weeks after that, her dog barking behind a locked gate, porch light on at 6:15 sharp, but she herself out of sight. When Karen returned, it was with a new escalation. 6 anonymous garbage bins labeled displacement area, placed in precise military rows along the street. Neighbors started whispering, flyers appeared about redistributing waste load. And then one day, Sarah found her own bins circled around her porch contents, dumped out another sticker tucked under a rotting banana peel. Enough was enough. Jason suggested legal counsel. Sarah wanted one last poetic move. With the help of a friend in event rentals, they delivered a dozen garbage bins to Karen's sidewalk labeled "filled and arranged in a perfect arc." "Return to sender," each one read. The next morning, the bins were gone. Karen called in a private disposal service, and the municipal liaison sent Sarah a note: "Please refrain from further direct action. We'll be following up." It wasn't praise, but it was the first real acknowledgement they weren't crazy. Karen vanished again, her yard slipping into mild disorder. The city finally started an official inquiry. Neighbors, emboldened, started to speak. She did this to the last family too. They left. Sarah logged every detail, every flyer, every shadowy threat. Adrienne, the liaison, confirmed that Karen was formally barred from filing anonymous complaints. It wasn't a punishment exactly, but it broke her cover. The final move was a trash dumping blitz. Sarah's own garbage and others scattered across her lawn and flower beds all along the driveway. Sarah didn't yell. She called the city, had it cleaned, and submitted the final report. For the first time, Karen was officially under investigation for harassment. Not a single neighbor mentioned her at the backyard barbecue Sarah and Jason threw to celebrate: a few folding chairs, a cheap speaker, in the sense that maybe, just maybe, you could finally breathe again. So if you ask Sarah what she learned, she'll tell you this in a place obsessed with peace. Sometimes the only way to find it is to refuse to be made invisible, to document, to speak up, to remind the Karens of the world that power built on fear can be undone by sunlight. Was justice served? Maybe, maybe not. But the real win was reclaiming their story, bin by bin, note by note, until the whole block finally looked up and saw what was going on. What do you think? Is it ever justified to fight back like that? Or should you always play by the rules, even when the rules are being weaponized against you? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear about your neighborhood justice stories, because you never know who else might need to hear that they're not alone.